So welcome to my blog. So today I'm gonna discuss about the Open Boat by Stephen Crane. So the first question is why the Open Boat called realistic fiction? Although the Open Boat autobiographical in nature, it is a work of fiction. So it contains elements that include a pessimistic tone and external forces that are indifferent to the characters in the story. The Open Boat by Stephen Crane, published in 1897. It was based on Crane's experience during surviving a shipwreck in the coast of Florida while traveling to Cuba to work as a newspaper correspondent. So the second question is who are the characters in the Open Boat, and also what their job. So the first is the correspondent. The correspondent shares his duty with Euler by rowing their boat during the shipwreck. So the second one is the cook. Even though the cook didn't share duties with them, the duty of the cook during the shipwreck is to bailing the water. So help his team by bailing the water during the shipwreck. So the next one is the oiler. Billy the oiler. So Billy is a double watchkeeper in the engine room before the shipwreck. So in the boat, he's so many duty. He shares his duty with the captain. He do the duty what the captain says, or what command of the captain says. So the next is the captain. Captain has so many injuries, so he didn't help by rowing the boat, but he ensures the safety of the crew member during the shipwreck. And he also command the oiler, and also he command the cook and the correspondent during the shipwreck. So the next question is what is the meaning of the word in the Open Boat? None of them knew the color of the sky. So it means this telling us that they don't know the path they going. They don't know the path if they can survive or not. So this appealing about one fighting for their life during the shipwreck. So I think that is the meaning of that word, that none of them knew the color of the sky. So that's it. So why are the characters traveling in a small boat in the Open Boat? Crane was stranded at the sea for 30 hours. When his ship, the SS Commodore, hitting a sandbar, he and the 3 other men was forced to navigate their way to shore in a small boat. One of the men, named Billy the oiler, drowned after the overturned. So the next question is what point of view the narrator is adapting in the story. I think this is a third person view, because in the story he didn't tell the word I, himself, or myself. So I think this is the third person view. And also the narrator chose the correspondent because The rest of the character in the open book, he chose the correspondent because in real life he is a newspaper correspondent. I think he used himself um, to make an inspiration to create the open boat story, because the open boat story is a Stephen Crane experience during the shipwreck in the Florida. So the next question is, how does the narrator describe the characters, thoughts, and emotions? The open boat conveys feels of loneliness that comes from man's understanding that he is alone in the universe and insignificant in its workings. Underneath the men's and narrator's collective rants, a fate as the universe is the fear of nothingness. The next question is, how do the men in the open boat relate to each other? The relationship between the four men in the open more on profound bond than regular friendship, because of the fact that they understand each other so well, so they can manage to survive and make it to the shore. The next is, what do the men do to prepare in case some of them do not survive? So I think the best thing that they do is to accept their fate that they can survive, because the waves is too strong to survive and it's impossible. So what are some of the dangers that men faces during the shipwreck? So, waves were most wrongfully and barbarously abrupt and tall and can cause injury and drowning. How the authors created an increasing sense of hopelessness in the men. So, the authors create a sense of hopelessness in the men by making nature like characters, by having all the men feel the same fear and dread. The next question is, how did the men get ashore? Which of the men survived? For the first question is, big waves comes and all the men are thrown into the sea and the lifeboat turns out and the four men must swim into the shore. And for the second question is, the survivor that were involved in the shipwreck is the captain, the cook, and the correspondent. They are struggling to survive the roaring waves of the ocean. So for our next topic, what are the conflicts and the story? So in this story, the open book, the characters find themselves in a life-threatening problem. The type of conflict that they facing is a self versus nature. They are on a lifeboat in the sea trying to get to shore. For the next question is, what patterns or repetition do you find in this story? How it's important to understand the story. The color white, gray, and black are natural all throughout the story. Each of them represents something and give us a foreshadowing of what will happen. So, what do the wave, boat, sea, and shark symbolize in the open boat? The boat through which the men must cling to survive. The seas symbolize human life bobbing along among the universe. And the boat, no larger than a bathtub, seems even smaller against the vastness of the ocean. The waves represent nature and life, how uncontrollable it can be, to determine the men's life. So they have to survive. The sharks symbolize wild nature that humbles man into submission. The next question is, What message is the author sending? The open book demonstrates repeatedly that humans have no control over nature, despite their best efforts to overcome it. The next question is, what is the relationship of man and nature in Stephen Green's The Open Book? The four men must fight against nature for their survival by navigating their tiny lifeboat through rough waters. A fight they are clearly not. For the last question of this blog, does not Crane see nature as a malicious or something else? The unaltered activity of the gulls, clouds, and tides behave illustrates the nature does not behave any differently in light of the men's struggle to survive. Crane strengthens the idea of nature is indifferent to man by showing that it is a randomly helpful